In 2022, I went to the Expo in Dubai, and actually I went there with a lot of skepticism because I thought maybe Expo is a bit outdated or not relevant anymore. But when I visited Expo in Dubai, I knew instantly, no, this is very important. What we need to do is to look at these mega events like they are developing. They are not anymore just about country branding, attracting more visitors to your home country. No, this is about solving global challenges. It's the biggest stage in the world where the whole world comes together to talk about solutions for all these difficult challenges that the world faces. And I think it's so important that Expo brings the world together and allows for face-to-face meetings, for human-to-human interaction. It's the biggest stage in the world. And that made us decide, let's go to Pampaku 2025. So we decided to see the Expo 2025 here in Osaka, Kansai, not as a theme park or like Disney World or USJ. No, it's the biggest stage in the world where the whole world comes together to talk about a future society for our life. So the theme of Expo was for us very relevant. Now, Expo is not a theme park. Expo is like a platform. So for us, it's very important that we, in the collaboration we have with Japan, that we talk about those global challenges and the joint, shared solutions we find together with Japan. So we have been collaborating with Japan more than 425 years now. And the shared feeling of responsibility for a world that's bigger than just our countries offers a beautiful scenario for this Expo. So our theme is a new dawn on common ground. We believe that the world is dealing with global challenges, like pandemics, like climate change, and it's a hard time. Sometimes it feels, especially for the younger people, that the world's unraveling. With war in the European continent, war in the Middle East, so many global challenges like climate change, and my generation is handing over the planet to the next generation. So we feel the least we should do is to offer inspiration for solutions and offer a seat at the table for the next generation. So this is why we chose the theme, A New Dawn, Inspiration on Common Ground. One is that I read in the newspaper that in normal times it feels like the craziness is at Expo and the normal world is outside. But this time it feels the other way around. It feels like the world's getting crazier and crazier. And this ring that unites all countries within the Expo, that's the normal place where countries try to work together to find solutions for those global challenges on common ground. Now, Japan shows the leadership in these difficult times to bring the whole world together to talk about solutions for global challenges. That is really inspiring. So from the start, we envisioned Expo as this platform where we could enhance the global collaboration, especially with Japan. So since the start of our participation in 2022, when we signed the participation contract, for us it has been clear that we would use this for enhancement of the bilateral collaboration. So we talk already with an intense network in Japan and the Netherlands on climate change. We have so many companies and universities and governments working together on the energy transition. We have such a great collaboration on food security, on life science and health, on high-tech, digitalization. So those themes are for us very important. And it's not just about showing a beautiful visitors experience, it's also all about this room where we are right now, where we had over 141 events during Expo. More than 225 event days, most of them stacked one on top of the other. So we had 6 big missions. Our King came, our Prime Minister came, so many ministers, vice ministers, over 300 delegates from businesses, startups, universities, cultural institutions. Every day this has been a beehive of activity, intensifying the collaboration. Because for us, it's not just about inspiration for change, it's also about delivering change. And to do that, you must enhance the collaboration between the networks in Japan and the Netherlands. Now, those 425 years of relations, that gives us a solid background. More than 2 centuries during the Sakukuchi Dai, the period of self-isolation of Japan, Deshima in Nagasaki Bay was the only window to the Western world. And the Western world learned so much from Japan during that time. And the other way around, so many Things from the Western world, medicines and also navigational skills, came through Deshima to Japan. Now this strong background that we celebrate this year, for 125 years of relations, it has been a beautiful anchor point for our participation. Now we're almost at the end of Expo and over 1.2 million people visited the Netherlands Pavilion. And our visitors' experience tells the story about the Netherlands, a country below sea level, and how we try to find a solution. Now, if you try to protect your own house with sandbags and you have a big flood, you're going to die anyway. So the only solution really is to work together. So that mindset, if a problem is too big for yourself to solve alone, try to work together with your friends and you can build amazing solutions. That's the narrative here. Now this mindset we bring to Expo. Try to solve global challenges by working together. And we did a lot of visitor surveys, and people in Japan that visited the Netherlands Pavilion, they understand this message. It resonates with them. They feel that even though we live in a time where more and more people say, oh, my country first or my people first, no. People here in Japan, they understand, like we, the people from the Netherlands, that we need to work together. The challenges we face are challenges for humanity. It's a shared responsibility. So this feeling of togetherness we have with Japan, it's such an amazing feeling. And at the end of our visitors' experience, we always ask visitors, if we stand in front of the Yakusoka mirror, we talk about global challenges, governments, big companies, but what are you doing? What is your promise to inspire the next generation for a new dawn on common ground? And people carry this orb and they stand in front of the Yakusoka mirror and they make their own promise. How to inspire the next generation for a new dawn on common ground. And then they step into the circle of common ground. And suddenly the rhythm in the orbs that they're carrying is aligning. They closed their eyes, they made a promise, they opened their hearts, and suddenly there's only one rhythm, one heartbeat. And that's the power of 1.2 million promises to change the world for the next generation. So before preparing for the participation of Expo, always the pavilion itself is maybe the most important calling card. It shows who you are. And if our story is about sustainability and about inspiring the next generation, for this new dawn on common ground, the pavilion should not be a pavilion that you throw away after 6 months. We wanted to have a pavilion that would last a lifetime. Now, when you look around at this pavilion, you can see that the whole pavilion is created in a way that each component has a dry connection with the other components. It's not welded, it's not glued, it's just screws and bolts. So that means that after Expo, each part can be taken apart very easily. And each part has a unique identifier. So it's in a system called Madasta, so you can check where the part was, what it was made of, and what the quality is. So each part can be reused in new construction projects. But that was not our highest goal. Our highest goal was to see if we could make a pavilion that could be reused in its entirety. So we are so happy and proud that on May 20th, the day before our National Day, we could announce that Pasonakomi has the intention to buy the whole pavilion and to give it a second life on Awachishima. So after Expo, we're gonna disassemble it, ship it to Awachishima, half an hour from here, and then we're gonna reassemble it there. So it has a second life, and this pavilion, the spirit of the pavilion, will live on for many years to come. Furthermore, we added several special elements to the design of the building. When you stand in front of our pavilion, you can see the facade is like a wave, and there's a man-made sun reflecting new and sustainable energy coming out of the water, like a new dawn inspiration. But of course, it's also a tip of the hat to Japan as the land of the rising sun. The length of the lamellas that form the wave, when you combine the length, it's 4,250 meters, reflecting 425 years of relations between Japan and the Netherlands. And when you're on top of the ring and you look down on the roof of the pavilion, you can see it's a rectangle and the sphere in the middle is like a circle. It's like the Japanese flag. So we have many little of those elements. But maybe the most beautiful one We know that in Expo 1970, it was like a turning point in Japanese history. So after the Second World War, Japan rebounded, and people call it an economic miracle, but I call it also a social miracle. Because what happened was that after the war, Japan turned outward again. And after many businessmen and many government leaders went into the world, 1970 was the first occasion for a whole young generation of Japanese people to meet with the rest of the world while the Expo 1970 came to Osaka. Now, I talked to many businessmen and many government leaders in Japan, and many of them are in an age category that they visited Expo 1970 as a young child. So the impression it made on them, it changed them for a lifetime. It changed the whole generation. Young people that came there saw the US moon rock and want to become an astronaut, or the first mobile telephone, want to become an engineer. And my friend, Professor Sawa, he came there as a young boy and he wanted to become a doctor, and now he's one of the rock stars at Expo 2025, showcasing that beautiful miniature heart in the Persona Pavilion. Now, stories like that are so inspirational. That's what Expo can do to a young generation. So we wanted to pay a tribute to that Expo. So the sun, the man-made sphere in the middle of our pavilion, has exactly the same size, the same diameter as the golden face on the Taiyo no To. So the Tower of the Sun has three faces, one on the back looking at history, one on the belly looking at today, but the golden face, it looks at the future. And the future that they were talking about in 1970 is our time now. So we live in the future that they were envisioning. So we were so proud also to host an event where we brought together the people that served in the Netherlands Pavilion in 1970, and we brought them here to this pavilion to meet up with the people working in the pavilion in 2025. Expo is not just a legacy of buildings, it's also a legacy of people that work on Expo. So we had so many special events that we will never forget. We had so many moments where we interacted with our network and the many visitors of Expo. And also outside the venue in Osaka, we had a beautiful exhibition in Osaka Castle where we talked about 425 years of relationship between Japan and the Netherlands and showed amazing artifacts that has never been brought together before. And in 3 weeks' time, over 179,000 people visited the exhibition. I also remember the wonderful DJ dance event. It's so big in the Netherlands and people in Japan love it so much. At the Expo Matsuri, we had an event where 11,000 people danced with Miffy ears. It was so much fun. And talking about Miffy, she has been so important for us. So we want to talk also to the youngest generation. And Miffy-chan, she's very popular. She's from the Netherlands. And she's quite a lady. She's not a mascot. She's our kids' ambassador. All through the pavilion, there are small booklets where Miffy-chan explains the story of the visitor's experience in easy to understand Japanese and easy to understand English. And she's really connecting with young people and old people. We had many limited edition Miffys, over 50,000, and they are selling out so fast, so we can't keep up with the production of them. People love Miffy. And the same goes for many beautiful things that we have in our shop. And I was amazed, honestly speaking, even though I'm living here already for 4 years in Japan, how much people want to buy at Expo. And this is not just about Miffy dolls, it's also about herring, nishin. People love nishin, and you eat it like this. So we sold more than 40,000 herring products, and we made our own stroopwafels. They're a Dutch cookie with syrup inside. It smells wonderful. If you enter the shop, you will immediately smell it, how nice it is. And we sold more than 150,000 of them. So also these little things, they help to connect with the Japanese audience. And I believe, we touched the heart of many people. Already now, the last days of Expo, so many people come up to me when I walk on the Expo side. And they thank us, and some of them start crying because Expo is almost over. So many beautiful memories for so many people here at Expo. So if we go back half a year before the start of Expo, and we look back at what media was writing then, in newspapers, on television broadcast, if we have a proper recall of the overall sentiment on Expo, it was very negative. It was so skeptical. And I was kind of surprised by that. it seems like people were not willing to take the risk to do such a big investment that is Expo. And actually, the average people, the normal people of Osaka, Kansai, Japan, all of them who visited Expo, they were the ones that turned around the sentiment. From the very first day that people came here, they started posting on SNS. Actually, Expo is quite nice. Oh, I've had a great time. That ring is beautiful. I could really recommend to go there. So after a couple of weeks, it started to kick in, also with regular media, newspapers, TV stations. No, we should start writing different kind of stories because Expo is kind of amazing what's happening there. Now, this turned in half a year into an experience where at the final weeks of Expo, more and more people, over 240,000 a day, are here at Expo. It's kind of overcrowded, to be honest. But it shows you that people have a deep fear of missing out. The Expo is ending and they want to get a piece of it. Now, that kind of success, that was unimaginable a year ago. A year ago, before the start of Expo, it was all about failure, not enough tickets being sold, there will be delays, there will be cost overruns, it's not going to work, the country pavilions will not be ready in time, who's to blame? That was the sentiment. Now this is very important because for all of us international participants, especially from democratic countries, it is so important that Japan has made it a success. Because we live in a democracy, and a democracy means that newspapers, media will be also critical. We live in a democracy, so that means there will be political backlash. There will be a sentiment within the audience, taxpayers who say, what are you doing with my money? So that puts a lot of burden on organizers. So the normal reaction to that is to be risk averse, not to do any big investments in the future anymore, because you face a lot of criticism. But if Japan shows to the world, and they are showing it, that Expo is viable, Expo is a success. If you do it right, it will make a difference. No, we need those mega events where the whole world connects to talk about solutions for global challenges to happen in democracies. That's the most important part. And I believe it so strongly that even if you're a cynical person and you don't believe in, the world coming together to talk about solutions, even if you just look at the numbers, you can see that the overall investment is a lot of money for the infrastructure, for the Expo side, for everything involved with it. But if you look at the economic numbers, you can see that the return on that investment is 3 or 4 times the amount of money that was invested. The input of this Expo in the economy will show to have a big result. And even when you look at the smaller numbers for the operating cost, we all know that 80% was depending on ticket sales. And we saw how difficult it was to get enough tickets in the pre-sale period. And now at the end of Expo, it looks actually that 28 million people will be on site after Expo. That's an amazing success. And they will have not a deficit, they will have a profit on that. Now I believe that's a big success. Also for the cynical people, look at your numbers. If you do it right, Expo has a business case. But most of all, let's not stop dreaming. We need dreams, we need imagination, we need feelings, emotions. And people that visited Expo, they will feel all the emotions that an Expo can result in. And that mindset, that's worth so much more than any amount of yen or euros or dollars. It's about people. So for me, Expo 2025 is an Expo that's for the people, by the people. When everybody was cynical about Expo, there was one beacon of light, and that was the moment they were applying for volunteers. They were looking for volunteers, and so many people applied. And that for me was a strong sign of interest. And think about those volunteers that were here on the site every day, but not just here, also at Kix Airport, waving at everybody, also at metro stations in the city. Day after day after day, they were there, and I was so proud of them for their loyalty to this cause of Expo. It was amazing. So there has been one moment during this Expo that kind of symbolized it all for me. and it was on August 13th. On August 13th at 9:30 in the evening, the Chuo metro broke down, and there were 30, 40,000 people still on the site. All pavilions were closed, and we noticed that some of the staff were going back to our pavilion, so of course they came in and we sat there, and so my team was here, and we were asking what's happening, and we didn't know what was happening actually, but we saw many people still walking around. And also we saw that many elderly people were here, and young families. So at the Netherlands Pavilion, we decided to open up and to share water and food, and we turned on our man-made sun, and we made it orange this time to make it more special. And we have a big Miffy, John. So a big Miffy that's inside the pavilion, and people wanted to take a picture with Miffy. So we turned it into a photo spot, and we gave everyone paper Miffy ears, and people started queuing up at 2:30 in the middle of the night. So there was a queue all the way from Miffy to the Water Plaza and beyond. And this kind of mindset, it was a situation that was actually quite dangerous. People were trying to get out, and people could have been trampled. But the Japanese audience, the Japanese people, turned it into an all-night expo, an experience they will never forget, and we will never forget either. So the behavior of the Japanese audience, quiet and helping one another and polite and looking after one another, it touched my heart so deeply. This for me was a symbol of what we as humanity can do when we are in a difficult situation. I love that so much. Honestly speaking, after all the cynicism before the start of Expo, on April 13th, my Expo was already a success. When I came there that morning on April 13th, and I went to the Water Plaza, and there were 10,000 people singing the Ninth of Beethoven, Ode an der Freude, Alle Menschen werden Brüder. By coincidence, I was standing next to So Fujimoto, the architect of the Grand Ring. And we shared a deep moment that was so emotional because it was such a symbolic moment that we were all united within the ring, all the countries united by this beautiful symbol that connects not only land and air and water, but also protects us as humanity, bringing sanity to us in a crazy world. So we shared this deep moment of connection, and I felt that meaning of the ring so strongly all during Expo. So after all is said and done, for the Netherlands, we show our appreciation and respect to the organizers, Japan, the prefecture, the city, the national government, Kankiren. You know, the business community here was so strong, investing like 1/3 of the construction cost of the Expo venue, stepping up in the pre-sales period to buy 6 or 7 million tickets when nobody was interested at that time. So that kind of leadership, it has shown the world what Japan can do, and I'm deeply respectful and appreciative of that. But most of all, I want to thank the Japanese people that came and visited Expo and made it such a wonderful experience. So every day, at least for half an hour or an hour, I'm outside under the ring, sitting on one of these benches. And especially during the hot summer, there's always a nice sea breeze over there. And people are sitting there talking with one another, eating their bento box. And in my not so great Japanese, and sometimes in their not so great English, we communicate. And we talk about Expo, and we talk about what they feel about it. And sometimes I'm able to take them with me to the pavilion. So to manage the crowds, we do reservations only. Otherwise, we would have waiting hours of 2, 3, 4 hours. And I didn't want that. But that gives us also the possibility to, when I talk to people and we have a nice conversation, I take them in, I guide them around in our pavilion. And that kind of people-to-people contact, that's the most amazing memory of Expo. And I will take it with me for a lifetime. Okini. As a perspective for the future, looking back on this Expo and looking back to all Expos, it started in 1851. So industrialized countries showcasing innovations to one another. Then it developed into second generation Expo. It was more about country branding. getting more people to like your country and to visit your country. We are now making the transition to the third generation Expo. Countries coming together in the biggest world event to talk about solutions for global challenges. This is the future of Expo. If we move towards that direction, it can be a sustainable future for Expo as well. So when we think about countries like the Netherlands, we do this with a strategy. So already in 2023, we were doing the first missions to Japan and from Japan to the Netherlands to prepare for Expo 2025. We have a vision where we want to be together with Japan in 2027. So we knew what we were going to do during Expo 2025, using it as a platform. So that kind of thinking, it led us to a situation where our Prime Minister came in April and signed an action plan to the strategic partnership agreement between Japan and the Netherlands, showcasing the different global challenges that together we will work on. And during Expo, those 6 missions, those 17 delegations, they came to Japan and they intensified the collaboration with their Japanese counterparts, bringing that change. Now, that kind of strategy will leave our relationship between Japan and the Netherlands stronger than ever before. Now, looking towards the future, I think this is where Expo should move into. That means more emphasis on sustainable architecture, circular architecture, not throwing away after Expo everything that we've built. More emphasis on thematic weeks, more emphasis on multilateral programs. This Expo tried to organize thematic weeks, but we were late with our program. We were late with setting up those big conferences. We were late bringing those multilateral conferences together. And that's a missed opportunity. So for the future, my recommendation would be to Expo Riyadh 2030, be ready early 2028 with your multilateral approach. Be early with those big conferences that you can organize within the Expo venue and outside the Expo venue. Countries like the Netherlands, we plan ahead. So already 2 years before, if we don't feel there's enough organized by the organizers, we're going to do it ourselves. And then it's going to be more bilateral. That's a big success, but it can be much more. So let's look into the future and build towards the third generation Expo, where the whole world meets together, solving global challenges on common ground. That's the bright future. So during 184 days of Expo, we always said, "Minasama, oranda pavilion, kiteya." And now Expo is over. We want to say, "Minasama, arigatou gozaimashita." Okiri.